Imagine deliberately giving away like almost all of your wealth, your property, your land, knowing it was the literally the only logical way to save your family's future.
Right.
I mean, on paper, it sounds like financial suicide, doesn't it?
Oh, completely. It goes against every instinct we have for, self-preservation and accumulation.
Exactly. But in 1976 China, it was this ultimate masterclass in what one writer calls the big mind. Welcome to today's deep dive.
Yeah.
We are exploring a translated personal essay and memoir by a writer named Su Feng, and it's titled Small Minds Are Clever, Big Minds Are Foolish.
Yeah, and the premise of this essay is just a brilliant exploration of human nature. Our mission today is to really extract a profound, genuinely timeless piece of wisdom from this text about the stark difference between, short-term shrewdness and long-term vision.
Right, and we aren't just looking at abstract theory here.
No, not at all. We are looking at a very specific, deeply human historical interaction that reveals the actual mechanics of how we make decisions and, well, why our instincts so often betray us.
So, to understand how those instincts play out, we are heading back to the summer of 1976 to meet this teenager who had just been handed a staggering amount of local power.
Yeah, he is our narrator, the author himself. And at just 19 years old, he finds himself serving as both a deputy secretary and the document officer of an agricultural production brigade.
Which at 19 is, I mean, that's wild.
It's a massive responsibility.
Yeah.
And the demographics of this specific brigade are what turned this situation into a total pressure cooker.
Yeah, lay that out for us because it's complicated.
So the text details that this brigade is made up of 5 natural villages, which are then broken down into 11 distinct production teams.
Okay.
Now, 5 of those teams are relocated immigrants from the Lujiaxia Reservoir.
Right.
The other 6 teams are local residents, and within that local group, 2 of the villages are Muslim.
So you can immediately see the mechanics of the tension here. You have relocated immigrants who've been moved from their original homes, suddenly competing with long-standing local residents for the exact same, incredibly scarce agricultural resources.
It's exactly.
Add in the vast cultural, traditional, and religious differences. I mean, managing different dietary customs, different holidays, different priorities, and you have a 19-year-old kid trying to keep a lid on a highly volatile powder keg.
And he knows it. The narrator is acutely aware of how precarious his position is. He explicitly states that because of this incredibly diverse makeup, he had to handle every single matter and speak every single word with extreme caution.
Yeah, walking on eggshells, basically.
Completely. The fear of accidentally offending one production team while trying to appease another dictated his every move.
Okay, let's unpack this because his strategy for managing this whole volatile community is really telling. Before taking the job, his dad actually gave him a piece of advice.
The advice about the elderly.
Yeah, he told his son, wherever you go, as long as you respect and show politeness to the elderly, you will not have major troubles. So this teenager makes extreme, humble respect for the elders his primary operational strategy.
He leans heavily into fairness and deference.
And it actually works. He notes that this single tactic allowed him to serve smoothly as what he calls the local emperor for 3 years. But wait, I have to play devil's advocate here.
Sure, go for it.
When I read this, I immediately think of a young, inexperienced startup CEO trying to survive a deeply divided, highly aggressive board of directors. Like, is extreme politeness to elders really a profound leadership philosophy, or is this just a shrewd survival tactic for a teenager who is completely in over his head?
Well, the text actually supports your skepticism there. And the narrator's self-awareness, in retrospect, is key. He openly refers to this respect for the elders as a tactic and a trick.
Oh, wow. So he owns it.
Oh, yeah. He admits he was handling things with this extreme caution, but primarily to avoid trouble for himself and just to keep the agricultural production moving. He needed a universal standard that all these clashing groups could instinctively agree on.
And respecting elders is pretty universal.
Right. In that specific cultural context, deference to the elderly was the one undisputed common denominator. It wasn't necessarily born out of a deep philosophical reverence. It was a highly effective management tool to just keep his head above water.
That cautious survival tactic kept the peace, but it also inevitably brought him face to face with an elder who completely dismantled his idea of what it means to be smart.
Yeah, among all the elders across these 5 villages, there is one who leaves an indelible mark on the narrator.
This man was a former landlord. And the essay paints a very vivid picture of his historical status. He had the highest and thickest courtyard walls in the entire area. He had the most magnificent gate tower.
Right. The physical markers of immense historical wealth were undeniably present.
But the truly defining characteristic of this landlord is how he navigated the decades prior to this meeting.
This is where it gets crazy. The text explains that before liberation, as the political winds in China began to shift, this man did not hoard his assets.
Like most people would do.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Instead, he systematically and gradually gave his land away to tenant farmers. He distributed his property among his relatives and his neighbors.
Looking strictly at the timeline of the essay, because he had dispersed his wealth in this manner, the government classified him as an enlightened landlord after liberation.
Right.
And this specific classification allowed him to safely bypass the devastating hardships of subsequent political upheavals, including the Cultural Revolution. He even managed to send his son to Tsinghua University in the 1950s, which, I mean, that was a monumental achievement for anyone, let alone someone with a landlord background.
What's fascinating here is how the landlord's backstory is the ultimate, undeniable example of playing the long game against our basic human nature.
Yeah. I mean, think about the psychology required to voluntarily sacrifice immediate wealth and status.
It's huge. It goes against the survival instinct to gather and protect resources. But he correctly read the broader trajectory of history. He traded his immediate material wealth to buy long-term survival and future stability for his family.
And the narrator, our cautious 19-year-old leader, looks at this landlord and immediately recognizes that this guy operates on a totally different wavelength.
Yeah, he notes that the landlord's mind is not simple.
Whenever the young leader encounters him, he maintains that strict policy of respect, and the landlord seems to appreciate him. There's no class hatred or ethnic resentment between them. It's just a quiet, mutual observation.
And that mutual observation sets the stage for a seemingly mundane encounter on a summer day that exposes the massive gap between how these two view the world.
Right, so the narrator is doing his rounds, acting in his leadership capacity. He goes to the local greening station to inspect the survival rate and the growth of the fruit trees they've recently planted.
Coincidentally, the enlightened landlord happens to be there, and they strike up a conversation about the young people in the landlord's village.
The teenager decides to offer what he thinks is a high compliment. He praises the youth of the landlord's village, specifically calling them smart. He points out that during their middle and high school years, several of these kids realized that sitting at a desk wasn't feeding their families. So they dropped out. They left the classroom, started running around outside the village, and began bringing home actual, tangible money to support their households.
And the narrator justifies his praise by looking at the alternative. He argues that the students who actually stayed in school and continued their formal education ultimately just returned to the village to farm the exact same land anyway.
Right.
From his perspective, those who stayed in school completely wasted years of their time with nothing to show for it, while the dropouts got a massive head start on earning an income.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because if we look at that logic through the lens of modern hustle culture, the 19-year-old is actually right, isn't he?
Well, yeah, in a way.
Think about the gig economy today or the push to drop out and start a business. If the end goal is inevitably farming the village land, formal education is literally just a delayed starting line.
Right, I see what you mean.
To a struggling family, a few coins today is worth infinitely more than a piece of paper in 3 years. It sounds incredibly efficient.
It sounds perfectly rational if you only account for the immediate variables.
Yeah.
The young narrator's worldview is a masterclass in optimizing the what is, the present reality.
Well, it is, yeah.
In his mind, the village is the only reality, farming is the only possible outcome, and immediate cash is the only metric of success. What he is completely blind to is the what could be. He is optimizing for a static world, assuming nothing will ever change, no new industries will emerge, and no new opportunities will ever arise that might require a deeper educational foundation.
He is playing a very small game, flawlessly, but this hyper-logical yet incredibly short-sighted worldview is exactly what provokes the elder.
Yep.
The landlord hears this praise for the teenage dropouts, and rather than agreeing, he drops the central paradigm-shifting philosophy of this entire text.
He looks at the young leader and says a phrase that completely shocks him. Those young people have clever small minds and foolish big minds.
And the narrator is totally lost. He asks, "What do you mean?"
Right, so the landlord, adjusting his beard, proceeds to break down the actual mechanics of how a life is built. He explains that a person's life, especially in their youth, is fundamentally about laying a foundation, and the math behind it is brutally unforgiving.
Brutally unforgiving.
Yeah, he says if you lay a solid foundation, your future efforts will pay off double. But if that foundation is poor, it doesn't matter how much you hustle, how much you grind or struggle later on, your efforts will only pay off half as much.
Wow.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, think of it in terms of structural engineering. Pouring a massive concrete foundation for a skyscraper takes months, sometimes years, of invisible, unglamorous work deep in the dirt.
You don't see anything.
Right. You don't see a single window or a single floor go up for a long time. Meanwhile, pitching a tent takes 5 minutes. You have immediate shelter.
Okay, that makes sense.
The dropouts who left school to earn a few quick dollars were pitching tents. They had immediate shelter, immediate gratification. But the landlord, who sent his son to Tsinghua University, was building a skyscraper. He explains that those eager for quick fame and immediate profit are always lazy when it comes to the slow, invisible work of building a foundation.
And the landlord doesn't sugarcoat the outcome either. He says those who temporarily give up that immediate profit to focus on their foundation end up getting everything in the long run. The dropouts who went to work early might seem like they gained a lot in the short term, but the landlord boldly states they've ruined their lives.
It is a devastating conclusion, honestly, but it highlights a profound duality. It's not a simple binary of being intelligent versus being stupid.
Because he admits they're clever, right?
Exactly. The landlord admits the dropouts are clever. Both minds are capable of shrewdness. The crucial distinction is the dimension of time and space in which you apply that cleverness.
Man, it really fundamentally changes how you view your own decisions. Think about the way you work or study right now. Like, are you cramming for a certification test just to pass it by tomorrow morning and get the raise?
Yeah.
That is your clever small mind at work. It gets the immediate job done, but the knowledge vanishes the next day? Or are you taking the extra unpaid, uncelebrated time to deeply understand the core concepts so they serve the next 3 decades of your career? That is the clever big mind.
Let's push that even further into the realm of evolutionary psychology. The small mind is actually a hardwired survival mechanism. It kept our early ancestors alive.
Okay, how so?
Well, if you see a berry, eat it now. If you hear a predator, run now. Our brains are chemically designed to reward quick wins and immediate solutions with hits of dopamine.
That makes total sense.
The big mind, on the other hand, is a cognitive luxury. It is a deliberate rebellion against our own evolutionary instincts. It requires us to suppress the urge for immediate gratification to secure a future that doesn't even exist yet.
That perfectly bridges into the essay's final reflections. The author takes this grounded piece of village wisdom from the landlord and elevates it into a sweeping philosophical rule. He concludes that if your only goal in life is mere survival, then a clever small mind is entirely sufficient.
Right.
It kept our ancestors alive, the dropouts survived, and the 19-year-old leader survived his political powder keg. But if you want to attain actual wisdom, if you want to expand the meaning of your life, that same clever small mind suddenly becomes a dangerous liability.
The author writes that the smarter your small mind is, the more trouble and harm it actually causes you when you try to achieve anything lasting, because it constantly tricks you into taking the shortcut.
Always looking for the easy way out.
Yeah. And the text lists these beautiful, stark contrasts between the two mindsets. Small minds focus strictly on the present moment. Big minds plan for the future. Small minds are eager to display themselves, to show off their quick wins to the tribe. Big minds are busy seeking the actual quiet truths of the universe.
So what does this all mean? My favorite contrast in the text points out that small minds aim for the brilliance of life, that flashy, immediate, visible success. Big minds aim for the eternal nature of life, something lasting and profound.
A huge difference.
It leads to this really fascinating paradox mentioned in the text. Ordinary people are clever in their small minds and foolish in their big minds, but true saints and sages, they are actually foolish in their small minds.
Wait, really? How so?
Well, to bring this down to earth, think about a chess grandmaster. To a complete novice watching a game, the grandmaster might make a move that looks incredibly stupid. They might voluntarily sacrifice their most powerful piece, their queen.
Oh.
The novice, using their clever small mind, thinks, what a foolish mistake, I just took your queen, I'm winning. But the grandmaster isn't playing the current turn. They are playing a 10-move sequence that is already mathematically guaranteed to win the entire game. They deliberately look foolish in the small space to completely dominate the big space.
This raises an important question for all of us living in the modern world. We are currently existing in an ecosystem characterized by severe information overload and incredibly skewed incentive structures.
Oh, absolutely.
The digital world, our social media algorithms, the 24-hour news cycle, the gig economy is entirely designed to hijack that evolutionary small mind we talked about. We are constantly, aggressively incentivized to chase likes, to secure quick wins, to maximize immediate profits, and to pitch tents as fast as we can.
We are literally penalized by the algorithm if we stop to build a foundation. If you don't post today, you lose relevance today.
Exactly. And while we are busy optimizing our small minds for these immediate dopamine-driven digital rewards, we are collectively neglecting the slow, quiet, unglamorous work of building our big minds.
Yeah.
The enlightened landlord's wisdom from a 1976 agricultural village is arguably more urgent now than it was back then. If we don't deliberately choose to cultivate the big mind, the modern world will force us into being eternally, reactively small-minded.
That brings us full circle in such a profound way. We started with a cautious 19-year-old in a 1976 agricultural brigade, just trying to navigate a demographic powder keg by keeping his head down, and we arrived at a sweeping philosophy about human potential and evolutionary survival.
It's quite the journey.
To summarize the journey we've been on today, taking shortcuts, relying on immediate life hacks, and grabbing the quick cash might absolutely help you survive today. It might get you the temporary peace you need, but laying a deep, painstakingly slow foundation, doing the invisible work in the dirt, is the only way to build a skyscraper that actually lasts.
And the enlightened landlord survived the turbulence of history, not through quick reactionary maneuvering, but through foundational long-term preparation. He sacrificed the comfort and the wealth of the present to secure the reality of the future.
And that leads directly to the final thought I want to leave you with today. Look at the absolute biggest goal or project you are pursuing right now in your life. Be brutally honest with yourself. Are you currently optimizing for the small mind? Are you rushing to see immediate visible results and in doing so, accidentally starving your big mind of the deep foundation it actually needs to innovate and succeed? What would happen if you dared to look a little more foolish to the outside world today in order to truly secure your future? Think about that. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep pouring that concrete, keep building those foundations, and we will catch you next time.